Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Dave Bazan's Garage. This is going to be the last episode in tonight's run, but I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist a car that is absolutely out of this world. And you've got to ask yourself, what enhances a car better than having some big appendage off the trunk, whether it be fins or a spoiler? And this is the most incredible vehicle that I can think of that came out during my era, which is now over 50 years ago, till now. And this being the Plymouth Superbird, it was a attempt at making a number of cars that NASCAR required to sell to the general public that could then be used on the track, homologated they call it, if when you do that, you know. So you just can't come up with any old car. You got to race a real car. And they decided to make 500 examples of these and then be able to go racing legitimately as this being a stock car. However, the way things turn out, you just never know what's going to happen. And two things of note happened. One being that NASCAR changed its rules because this just ate everybody's lunch. This was just crazy. Now, Chrysler says that the spoiler is as high as it is because they wanted the trunk to be able to open. Could they have said it's as high as it is because they wanted to make the biggest statement they could? Oh, maybe it's like the gull-wing doors in the Mercedes. Maybe necessity was the mother of invention. But the one thing I did find out recently, these two humps on the fenders are because the car did not have enough clearance for the wheels, springing, and they needed to create a hole so the wheels wouldn't hit the top of the inside fenders, and they made it onto the stock version of the car, even though this is the racing car, because they looked cool. And of course, there was the Corvette-esque type of front end, put onto this car. I thought this car was the coolest thing going when it came out. It was on the cover of Motor Trend with the guy sitting on the trunk. And, the second thing that happened to this car was that as wild as it looked and as much as people go for a wild-looking car, nobody wanted this one. I have no idea why. I couldn't tell you why, but you could see in the late 70s, there were still cars on the car dealership's lot that were unsold. I mean, they say there's a butt for every seat, but no matter what they did, and apparently they only did so much, maybe they held on to them figuring that sooner or later they'd become collectible, but people weren't turned on by this. I would have thought that every race gearhead in America would be like, yeah, I could buy a Corvette, see myself coming and going all day, or I could buy this Superbird and feel like a real man. But not the case. And there was a Dodge component of this, which I think came out in 1970. It wasn't called a Supercharger, but it was called something. And again, the same idea, a little bit different. It was based on the Coronet, not even the Charger. And this might have Coronet fenders on it for all I know. For some reason, those might have been more workable with the car. But it was really something. And it just was too much. It didn't sell, and it caused NASCAR to say, we can't have one car dominating. This is crazy. You can't really cheat like this. It wasn't cheating by the rules. It was probably cheating in the spirit of the rules. I mean, you're supposed to race a real car, but they come up with a car that is very far off from a real car. Now, nowadays, NASCAR, all the cars have the exact same body, and they've got decals on them to make them slightly resemble the real cars because they want it to be an athletic competition between the dudes, not a car thing. It's no longer win on Sunday, sell on Monday. It's bring the camper and all your friends down and watch Daytona, watch it on TV. But even then, people seem to be getting a little tired of NASCAR. I mean, nothing lasts forever. I mean, it's like NFL football. How many decades can you watch that before another generation comes up and says, this isn't for us? But this car is for me. It's a wild car. It's the '59 Cadillac of 1970. Most of them were blue. The Richard Petty one was blue. This says 76 on it. I don't know who the driver was on this. It says Get the Spirit on it. It says Union on it. Must be union with some sort of brand name of a car performance thing that you could buy for your car, maybe oil, maybe, antifreeze for all I know. And, this car is still one that is under the radar. Doesn't get so much love. You don't see it on the cover of Hot Rod magazine. You don't see people, making customs out of it. For some reason, it's the hot car that nobody loved. I mean, I like it. I probably had, a dozen, well, maybe not a dozen, but a half a dozen versions of this over the years. But I guess I can understand one thing. It's a tack-on job. The front end is tacked on. The spoiler's tacked on. It looks too tricked to maybe really have its place. There's no unique bodywork to it on its own. I mean, the body style is the one that they had from 68 to 70, and a new one came out in 71, and not a new Superbird, but a new Charger and Plymouth Roadrunner. So, the Dodge version was called the Daytona. Ferrari had a Daytona, which really wasn't called the Daytona. It got nicknamed the Ferrari Toyota. That wouldn't be bad. But it got nicknamed the Daytona because they introduced it there, and it caught on. And you still see it in legitimate car magazines called the Ferrari Daytona. And you also see it called a car, not the same one, called the Ferrari Dino. And the Dino was never a Ferrari. It was made by Ferrari, but it was just called Dino. It didn't really qualify as a Ferrari. So that's a bit of car lore on this car. As you can see, my collection looms large. It'll probably be cleaned up at least by tomorrow morning. And as usual, I would take you for a ride in this car. But the last time I took this car on the road, I collected 8 tickets, and that was before I even started it up. So I mean, we really don't want to take that chance. I mean, if it had no muffler on, then I'd be left alone in this town. But it does have a muffler on it, but it just looks too wild. Plus, everybody wants to know what you're driving, and as far as I'm concerned, I like talking about my car as much as I like talking about my pants with strangers. I really think that's about the equivalent. So we're going to leave it in. We're going to leave y'all in, and here you got today one of the greatest cars, almost unknown to the general public, and again, it doesn't even, for whatever reason, turn on the general public. But my Pelican would actually hump this car for its baby. So, what's a little bit plain Jane and not in the DNA pool for one species is for another. So let's hope that in another month or two we have some baby Superbirds. Maybe that's why it likes it. It's bird to bird. I think I got it, folks. You got to be a bird to love this car, and this car, to my female Pelican, says is as macho as you can get. Or maybe it's a male Pelican. I don't know. It's so hard to say. I have enough trouble figuring out my own species to start thinking about what goes on with another. But we're going to turn off the lights and let these two birds get to business. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.